I'm Zach Kazan. I'm an editor at Worn & Wound, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Aera D-1 Ocean Blue dive watch. This is a follow-up to Aera's first dive watch, the D1, which came out last year. That was an all-black dive watch. This one, obviously, as the name implies, is blue. It has a dark blue dial, a matte blue ceramic bezel, and a matching blue strap. Looks really nice. They've made some small, but I think pretty important updates from the first one, and I've had a chance to wear it around for the last week or so, and I really quite like it, in spite of some pretty intimidating measurements and specs. So first off, the improvements that they've made. This watch now features Globalite Lume. Globalite is a more advanced, more tech-forward lume compound that glows brighter and lasts longer than traditional superluminova compounds. It's also just a block of lume. So instead of being applied to a marker, it actually is a chunk of lume that just sits on the dial in the shape of these hour markers. So it adds some additional depth to the dial as well. It's pretty impressive in person. It's a pretty intense glow. I'm not really a lume buff or a lume snob by any means, but I have to admit it's pretty impressive. The other update is to the movement. They now use an elaborate grade Solita automatic movement, which is going to be a little bit more accurate than the movement they used in last year's version. The thing that's going to jump off the page for most people when they read the specs for the Aera D1 dive watch is going to be the measurements. This is a large watch. It's 44 millimeters in diameter. It's about 16 millimeters tall, which includes a pretty dramatically domed sapphire crystal, and has a 22 millimeter lug span. It's just shy of 50 millimeters from lug to lug. Those are big measurements. It's a big watch, and we're kind of going through this period right now in the watch community where brands are sizing watches down more so than increasing the size of their watches. We've fully exited from the big watch era from several years back. And this is a watch that I don't know that I was predisposed to enjoying. I tend to like a more medium-sized watch. 42 millimeters is about as large as I go. But I have to admit, when I put this watch on, something about the way that the case is designed and the way the strap integrates to it makes it wear incredibly well, and it reinforces this idea that I kind of keep coming back to, that you have to go beyond the specs of a watch when you're kind of thinking about how it wears. The numbers don't tell the whole story. In the case of the D1, we have curved surfaces everywhere that really hide a lot of the watch's size. Not just on the case, although basically every surface on the case is curved, from the lugs to the case walls. The bezel itself has a slight curve to it. The case back is curved, and all of those things kind of like shrink the watch a little bit on the wrist. But that also corresponds with the dial as well. The dial is this dramatic bowl shape. It gives it a lot of additional visual interest, and a lot of interesting distortion happens when you kind of glance at the watch from the side, seeing that bold case with the domed crystal kind of working in the opposite direction. It's pretty cool. It's unique. I haven't seen a watch with exactly those qualities in the past. It's very easy to wear. As I said, it's 44 millimeters, but it wears much closer, I think, to like a 42 millimeter watch. It really has a lot to do with how the strap kind of like tapers sharply down from the lugs here. There's structure to the strap that kind of like pushes it down on the wrist, and the watch wears really low to the wrist. I won't say it disappears on the wrist. The watch is definitely too big to have that like it's not even there feeling. It feels just like a normal watch, and I think that if you're at all inclined towards medium to large size watches, don't be scared of the 44 millimeter case size or the near 50 millimeter lug to lug on this watch, because it's actually very, very manageable day to day on the wrist. Aera is a really interesting brand. I've really enjoyed my time with the D1. Also, this watch is made from 904L steel, which is the same steel that Rolex uses, so corrosion resistant, a little bit more of a premium feel. Should take a polish better, although this watch is all satin finish, so it's not really taking advantage of that. But it really feels like a premium product, and I'm interested to see what Aera continues to do as they evolve. Along with the D1, they also released a new version of their P1 Pilot's watch in a really nice gray color. And that watch has the same updates that the D1 has, with the Globalite markers, their Arabic numerals in the case of the P1, and with the upgraded movement. At that $1,600 price point, this is a really interesting watch, and it's definitely worth considering. It has a very unique look, a contemporary look, and some thoughtful updates from Aera, which I think is a really important thing to consider. This is a new brand that has already made some considered and, I think, thoughtful updates that indicate that they understand what people are looking for in a watch at this price point. So definitely check it out. We'll have more on this watch on the website, and we'll link to everything in the notes below. And thank you for joining us.